Welcome to my house. What's up, guys? It's the house of AC. I'm AC, and this is my house. And Flow Rider is over at my house. He's just behind the camera, which is why you can't see him, but you probably heard him singing there. So thank you, Flow Rider, for coming over to my house and introducing the show today, because it's a wonderful show today at the house of AC. Today, we are talking about the 4 profit centers and long-term buy and hold rentals. Okay? Does that sound sexy to you? It sounds sexy to me. All right. This is a sexy product. I don't teach get rich quick. Okay. There's the fastest way to get rich quick is very risky. It's probably flipping homes, and that make for exciting TV shows. You win big, you lose big. I've done it. I can teach you how to do it. I'll probably do an episode on it at one point. But my number one recommendation to 90% of my audience is long-term buy and hold rentals is your get rich slow path to wealth. Okay. And it's low risk. And it's you just buy a house here and wait it out. You buy a house over here and you wait it out. And over time, it just starts accumulating, and 4 different profit centers for you. The 4 P's, the 4 different property. Oh my gosh. I think that dancing wore me out. I can't even speak. The 4 different properties, I still can't do it. The 4 different profit centers. I'm not going to give them to you right now, because then you would just say, thanks, got it, Alan, and sayonara. But I'm going to tell you the first one right now, and this is an easy one. The first P, the first way to make money in long-term rental holds is appreciation. So let's talk what appreciation means. And I know you appreciate me, and I appreciate you, but that doesn't make either one of us money. Let's talk about real estate appreciation. Okay, that's profit center number 1. And I will even give it to you on the screen here. Ta-da! So look how tech savvy. I can type letters in an Excel spreadsheet, and I am successful. So there you go. So I don't have the best skills at what I'm doing in terms of teaching you this, but it gets the job done. And that's what I'm here to tell you, how to get the job done in your own life, in your own real estate investing. Do want to give a quick shout out to my live watchers and viewers right now. Thank you. Ask your questions, type them up in the comments. I see them. I will respond in real time. I want to give real life feedback to you. I want to know what you're thinking. I'm trying to always anticipate what you're thinking, and maybe I'm doing a good job at that. But if not, put your comments and questions, and that would be wonderful. Also, thank you to the people who are watching this later on YouTube or on the House of AC Facebook page. You can find past episodes there all the time. So if you missed one, there you go. You can get up to speed. And, I do this every day, Monday through Friday. So come back to a future one. And if you are a successful real estate investor, or you've read my book, or I've inspired you, or anything like that, please give me feedback. I'd love to have you on as a guest. Tomorrow, I have a guest on the show who did just that. Someone I don't know, read my book, got inspired, and his name's Mike Doer. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. We're going to have him on the show tomorrow. I'm so pumped to have Mike here. Okay, back to making you money. I know that's all you want, and I'm okay with that. All right, profit center 101's appreciation. Let's talk what that means. There's really 2 types of appreciation. It's 1, natural appreciation, and 2, forced appreciation. Okay. Forced appreciation is you increase the value of your home by yourself. You could do it through sweat equity, where you're grinding on the weekends, painting the rooms and adding, new fixtures and updating the tile. This is sort of your flipping shows kind of situation, and proven method. You can do this, right? It's not rocket science. It's, you're just replacing old parts, putting in new parts. You don't necessarily have to change the floor plan to create forced appreciation or sweat equity appreciation. Appreciation just means the house value goes up. All right. Your equity in a home is what you owe, or what you own of the home. So typically $100,000 house, let's say you've got an $80,000 mortgage, you have $20,000 equity. If you did something to that home to increase its value up to $150,000, that's appreciation, forced appreciation. You've added an extra $50,000. Now you have $70,000 of appreciation. That is wonderful. And you've appreciated your home. It's worth more because of the work you put in. hopefully you didn't have to put $90,000 into the home to increase the value $70,000, right? That's not what we want to happen. You want to make it as, the return's a little bit better than that. You put in $30,000 to make $70,000. And we can talk about tips and tricks on that to come. But let's talk about natural appreciation, because this is the lazy person's way to make money in real estate. It's natural appreciation. It has nothing to do with you, honestly. It's just the world around you, the neighborhood around you, the block around you. Your street is now worth more because you happen to buy at the right time. This is why I say buying any real estate property, it doesn't matter. Any real estate property you buy comes with an imaginary lottery ticket, okay? What do I mean by that? Imaginary lottery ticket means you just happen to buy a house that has natural appreciation, okay? You own a property and maybe the charter school went in a month later or 2 years later, and everyone wants to get in that charter school. So all these families are rushing to buy or rent in this property of yours. Maybe the landfill that was nearby, which everyone hated, and why you got your property so cheap, is now turned into a public park. They've cleaned it up. They planted grass and sod and trees on top of it, and there's no smells. Everyone knows it's a landfill underneath, but people can use the park. They can run in it. They can walk their dog, whatever. It's your house appreciated in value. Maybe the hipster foodie, food hall comes in, and the coffee shops are really cool, and everyone is much cooler in there that works there, that drinks there, but you can piggyback off their coolness, and you have a house now in a hot, cool neighborhood because of this coffee shop or food hall that opened up. Lottery tickets, you did nothing, right? Just like making money at a lottery, you did nothing, but you bought a dollar ticket and you won, and hooray. So this happens, okay? This happens to me. I've benefited greatly from this imaginary lottery ticket. And this is why I also suggest quite often, you don't want to buy a property in all cash. If you buy a property in all cash, let's say you have $100 or $100,000 saved up, you could buy one house in one area and you get one lottery ticket. But you could also spread that up into 5 houses and 5 different areas. And now you've got 5 different imaginary lottery tickets, okay? Assuming that each of those houses, you put 20% down, $20,000 here, 20 there, 20 there, 20 there, 20 there, and it's cash flowing. You're not losing money each month. You're spreading around risk, because if you only have one property that's all cash and it's vacant, you're making nothing. But if you got 5 properties and one's vacant and 4 are making cash, those 4 other properties are going to cover the note of that 5th one. So you're actually will always be covered, because it's rare that you're going to have, 2, 3 vacant at the same time. So just know that appreciation is the most normal way. And that's why I'm sort of glossing over it a little bit. Like, people get it. House values go up. Historically, on average, they'll go up about 3% a year. Inflation also goes up about 1.5% a year. But if you just do nothing, your house will most likely go up in value. And what's great about real estate investing is you can time the market however you want. Not going to be forced to sell in a down market. And I want to, I probably should have, I just thought of something. I want to draw a little graph for you. And okay, good. This is going to be, I'm going to be showing off my art skills here. Okay. This is a MS Paint, some sort of simulator that I'm going to paint. And let's do a paint graph of a pencil, and hopefully this looks good. All right, let's assume the real estate market goes up and the real estate market goes down. And I'm just drawing S curves from the bottom left corner. This is for my podcast listeners, guys, that just shows up and down and up and down. It's a squiggly line. It looks like a snake going from the bottom left corner up to the bottom right corner. And what I'm doing is, this is just the real estate market going up and the real estate market going down. And we have peaks and valleys. Okay, this natural, healthy real estate market, no matter when you buy, you'll be somewhere on a graph like this. Now, what's important is that there's a straight line. Oh, let me try a different color. I'm getting fancy, guys. A pink line here that, overall, this is probably the trend. I just drew a straight line from the bottom left corner to the top right corner. And you'll see that let's assume that that's the trend of the real estate market over the past 30 years. And this is actually quite accurate. It does kind of look like this. You see the bumps above it, you see the bumps below it. And so it doesn't really matter as a real estate investor. When you buy, it'll slowly creep up on this pink line over time. That's appreciation, right? Now let's get the eraser. Now people are always scared. Well, what if it's a down market and I've got to sell? Well, you don't have to. What? If everything below this pink line, I'm going to erase. You just don't sell in these areas, right? That's how it works. Okay. Don't sell in these areas because you have a tenant in there paying rent, and you only sell in these areas at the top left, above the pink line, and you wait out the bad markets when they're down under, because your tenants are not going to disappear because the market's down. The tenants don't even look at that. They don't own a house. They're just renting. They're doing their day job. They're doing whatever interests them. Real estate investing doesn't interest them. Buying a house possibly doesn't interest them, or maybe they're saving up, but they're just going to rent. They're not going to move out because there's a housing crash. If there's a housing crash, there's probably an economy crash, which creates more foreclosures. More people are losing their homes, so they have to go rent homes. So you actually create more renters. So this is why you can just kind of wait for the appreciation to go up. Hey, I'm going to sell in these parts, and these down parts, I'm just going to keep renting. That is how it works. And pat on the back to me, I figured that out on the spot, and I think I made my point. But hopefully I did. And so that is how you can kind of time the appreciation and when you can kind of, decide when to sell or not. And this, it'll just holding is the key to these strategies, these 4 strategies. So that's profit center number 1. You can increase the property yourself, or you've got the natural lottery ticket that increases the properties over there. Now, I made $1 million once because of appreciation. I bought a property in Brooklyn, New York, in my early 20s. And I bought it because it had good cash flow, a couple $100 a month. And I said, hey, you know what? This is good. I just want to slowly replace all my bills with my rental income that's coming in. And it was a duplex, and made a couple $100 a month. And without my knowledge, I'm not a genius. With no foresight. I was just a dumb kid who wanted to buy real estate to leave his day job. Well, the basketball team, NBA basketball team, New Jersey Nets, announced, hey, we are moving to Brooklyn. Brooklyn Nets is now our new home and team, and we're going to build a stadium about 6 blocks from my house. Well, that basically doubled the value of my property, and I got $1 million because I got a lottery ticket that I just got lucky. So the more homes you get, the more chance you get lucky. I guess probably there is a situation where the neighborhood turns for the worse. But the more properties you have, they can balance each other out. But I'll tell you this, if you're buying in quote unquote bad neighborhoods, or maybe areas that you don't live in or want to live in, but they're in the budget that you can afford, all sorts of government programs, the new schools, the charters, the parks, the new public transportation hubs, the swimming pools, they all go mostly to the rougher areas, right? Because the city wants to turn around crime. They want to improve the schools. They want to give these folks in the zip code who've had a hard time, let's change the vibe. Let's change their trajectory in life, right? So you get a lot of these lottery ticket situations in properties and areas that are rough to begin with, because that is the most pressing issue to turn around from the government, from the city. So don't be shy on those properties. Don't be scared of those properties. Just you want to accumulate as many lottery tickets as possible, because this is profit center number 1, appreciation. And yes, that is the one that will get you the most money. This will get you rich quick. So if that is important to you, and that's the only way you want to invest in real estate, it's appreciation investing. Okay. And I don't think anyone has that crystal ball, right? I get that question all the time. Where can I make the most money? I want to buy a house now for $200,000 and I want to sell it for $500,000 in 3 years and do nothing. Well, no one can answer that. If anyone tells you this is the zip code, you buy this now, this exactly is going to happen, then they have a crystal ball, and you are going to have more money buying that crystal ball than you are taking their advice. We can guess, we can make educated guesses. We can say this is where other investors are investing and why. You want to look at growing cities. This is a huge component. If there's new job opportunities coming in, companies moving in, headquarters coming in, all that creates appreciation naturally. Okay, so that's profit center number one for you. We do have a question. Jasmine asks on here. I've heard people say that you should wait a certain amount of years after you bought a home to sell. Does that apply to investments? No. I'm curious what this means by this. I set a goal for myself to buy one piece of property every year for 5 years. And looking back, that worked for me. I needed that 5-year span. My advice now, the people that I help my clients, is we need to buy a property every 90 days. That's all it takes, every 90 days. And it's all about understanding your loan options out there. JasmineTeam.com is the mortgage lender I use, and they always give me great loan options. For instance, if let's say you looking at a duplex that's $100,000, each unit rents for $1,000. That's $2,000. Your mortgage payment is going to be about $1,200. A bank like JasmineTeam.com is going to say, "Hey, this is very low risk. We're going to give you a loan for this," kind of thing, because the rental income already covers the entire note plus your property taxes and property manager and everything. Like this is easy money. This is safe. This is a safe bet to give you money on. So the faster you do this, right, the more appreciation you're going to get, just that natural appreciation, because it's a buy and hold game, right? So I can buy one house now and wait for it to appreciate over time for 10 years. And then I can buy another house in 2 years from now. And then I've just lost out on 2 years of appreciation. I've lost 2 years of opportunities on a lottery ticket. I've lost out 2 years on cash flow, which is profit center number 2. All right. Cash flow is profit center number 2. What does that mean? This is what people think about all the time. I want a house that makes me money. This is the ultimate get rich slow technique, because it's just $100 a month, right? You're making $50 here one month, you're making $300 another month, and it's just trickling in, right? You're not going to go buy a Lamborghini with this, okay? Maybe if your house doubles and triples in value from a lottery ticket, we can go buy Lamborghinis and high five each other. Cash flow, it's hey, this is going to pay my internet bill for the rest of my life, right? $100, $150 going to cover my phone bill. All of a sudden, I got free phone for life because this house is going to pay for it for the rest of my life. Maybe you want to go on vacation and you say, I'm just going to take all the cash flow for the year on this one house. And if it's $1,000, I'm going to take $1,000 vacation. If it's $15,000, I'm going to take a $15,000 vacation. This is how I operate. This is how I think. Every expense in my life, I have it matched to a house. And every expense I want in my life, I buy a house to match it. So, hey, I want to go buy a Tesla. I own a Tesla. I love it. I'm not a car guy, but this is making me a car guy, my Tesla Model X. I don't just go buy a Tesla Model X. I go, let me go buy a house that will buy me a Tesla Model X. And this is all through the cash flow situation here. Let me see. Yes. So this is really easy to calculate. Back of the envelope sort of stuff. Profit center 1, appreciation. Profit center 2, cash flow. What you want to do is think of it this way. You look at properties online. They can be single family houses. They can be duplexes, triplexes, quads. That's where you're going to get the lowest financing options. If you want to live in one of the units and rent out the other units, that's easy money, because then you take away the most expensive thing in your monthly budget is probably your rent right now. And if you live in a property that's a triplex and the 2 other units cover your entire mortgage payment, then you're living for free, right? You're getting paid to live in your own house. Nothing better than that. That's called house hacking. And we've talked about this before. So look at those past episodes on the House of AC website. But cash flow. So at the end of the day, easy way to calculate this, look at a property online and then go to a website, rentometer.com. I always feel silly saying that, but let me pull it up on here so you can look at rentometer.com with me. Are you a renter or real estate professional? It doesn't matter. You enter in an address and you enter in a zip code, and you can say you got to create your free trial here, but and it just tells you what everything's renting for within that zip code, that city, that map that you draw, and it's super easy. And so you can say, show me a house that's in the zip code, it rents for $1,500. And then here's a back of the envelope trick. 30% of that is going to go to away. All right. So if it's renting for $1,500, whatever 30% of $1,500 is, I will do the math on my Excel sheet because I'm terrible at it in my head. $450, throw that away. All right. $450 is going to go to repairs, future repairs. You're not going to do 450, combine all this repairs, vacancy, just budgeting for vacancy one day. Maybe if you have a property manager, property taxes, things like that. Back of the envelope, I've been doing this a while. Typically 30% of whatever rental income that property makes, I have to spend on stuff for that house to just keep a tenant in there, to keep a tenant happy, to keep things working. Okay. So if 30% of $1,500 is $450, then that's $1,050 that I can count towards my income coming in. And then I would subtract my mortgage payment out of that. So let's say your mortgage payment is $850. There. Quick, easy, back of the envelope map. I found a property that's going to make me $200 cash flow a month. Okay. So that is sort of how you dig in to really figure out positive cash flow. It's the net operating income. That's it. Net operating income is the income, rental income, multiply it by 12, subtract 30% of that, or take 70% of that. 70% of that is actually going to go to you in a form of a payment. Okay. And that cash flow is going to be, what's going to make you rich in the long run. This is Profit Center 2. A lot of times people come to me and say, I make them pick. I say, do you want to invest for appreciation, or do you want to invest in cash flow? And you can imagine the most common reply is, I want both. Okay. Listen, we all want both. We all want those imaginary lottery tickets that we can't predict. We all want the fast proving property that we don't have a crystal ball. And we all want cash flow. We all want to make money each month. I'm not saying it's impossible to marry the two of these. I'm just saying it's difficult, and you usually have one direction or the other. The reason for this is if say you're investing in an urban part of town, in town, downtown Atlanta, downtown Chicago, things that are walkable, public transportation, things like that, you're going to have more appreciation in these urban areas, these urban cities, because we're in a culture now that appreciates walkability or riding their bike. We're very don't want a car. It's bad for the environment. There's more jobs being built in the city center than there are outside the city center. The headquarters of a company to attract talent, they're going to open it up in New York City before they open it up in Albany, New York, right? So it's all those sort of things, that excitement, that vibe, that energy, the new coffee shops, the new malls, the new art galleries, all that stuff is usually going to be an urban city, which makes for a more attractive place to live. And that's going to create your appreciation. Because of that, those properties are going to be more expensive. They're going to just cost more. And because of that, you're not going to make as much money each month because your mortgage payment is going to be a little bit bigger. But you do have that chance for appreciation. Now, let's flip it on the side. The suburbs, the rural areas, right? They don't get the exciting, trendy stuff moving in there. The cat cafes are not going to open up next to a farm, right? So that's okay. You can still make money in all these areas. You're going to be more of a cash flow buyer. You're buying, and you see farms on your street. The property is going to be fairly cheap to purchase, just because you're going to have a long commute to wherever you're going, unless you're a farmer, right? Or if you're in the suburbs, it's just going to be cheaper. That's what you get. You give up proximity, and you gain a cheaper real estate. You probably will even get a bigger home, right? There's still going to be tenants and renters in these areas as well. A lot of them, work in the local, the farm areas. They're going to have still a gas station. They're still going to have, a farm stand. There's still jobs out there. Your tenants will probably stay for life because they're not leaving that town. They're there for a reason, and they would have left by now if they could have, would have, or they wanted to. And they just going to rent for forever, and you're going to get much higher cash flow. So you might get $400, $500 a month in that situation on the perfect deal. In town urban areas, you're going to have a lot higher turnover because people are there. Then they get married. They move in with their boyfriend or girlfriend. They have a kid. They need more space. They get a better job. They're just in the city for a few years to get their degree. You got turnover. And but you're going to have high demand. It's not going to be vacant for more than a week because there's so many people that want to live there. Again, two types of real estate investing: appreciation or cash flow. It happens. It happens over time that you're going to get both of these two different profit centers. I usually encourage, hey, why don't we get a cash flow property that's surefire money, that's no predictions, and hope we get a lottery ticket after that, some sort of appreciation after that. Okay. So those are the first two easiest profit centers to understand for most people. And I think that's where we are. Okay. So now let's go to the next one. Profit center number 3, principal paydown. I was going to pull up an amortization calculator. So that is where your eyes are going to glaze over, or you're going to get really excited. But it's a profit center, so I get excited about it. Look at these bars and graphs. Okay, so for you guys listening on the podcast without the graph, way to look at it is this: you get a loan, and a loan will have payments each month. In this example, I'm going to put in a $200,000 loan amount, 30 years. And let's say your interest rate is 4%. Interest rates are creeping up right now. I'm recording this January 26, 2022. I promise you interest rates are going to continue going up. Well, I can't promise you. It's all expectations. Interest rates are going to be going up probably 3 times, possibly 4 times. They're going to have little bumps throughout the year. The earlier you buy your home this year, the better interest rates are going to be. So get on it, talk to your realtor, get your pre-qualification letter from my sponsor, which is jasmineteam.com, and where I get my own personal mortgages. Go do that now. And then go get yourself a realtor. If you're in Atlanta, the Alan Corey team, happy to help you. If you're a realtor, I can introduce you to realtors all over the country, though, that love what I preach. So, reach out if that's the case. All right. Anyway, a $200,000 loan, 30 years, 4% interest rate. If we're looking at an amortization calculator, what this says is part of your mortgage payment each month, some of it goes to the bank for interest. Because that's how the banks make money, right? They're charging you 4% interest. They're going to make money off of you. That's the business that they're in, and they're going to charge you interest on your loan. And some of your mortgage payment goes to paying that interest, and some of that mortgage payment goes down to paying your principal. So the way that works is the bank knows that the average life of a homeowner is probably 5 to 7 years. Okay, so. And that I know that as a realtor as well. This is rough math. If you're buying a house, you're probably going to live in it for 5 to 7 years. And people's life changes in that time. Maybe you outgrow it. Maybe you want something bigger. Maybe you want something smaller. Maybe you got a new job. Maybe you got divorced. Maybe you got married. 5 to 7 years. Bank knows this. They're in the business of giving money, and so they're going to say, "Hey, I'm going to charge you more interest at the beginning of the loan, the first 7 years of the loan, than I will for the last 23 years of the loan, if it's a 30-year loan, because they want to make as much money off of you as upfront as they can, and then just let you basically pay more of the principal pay down towards the end of the loan. your payments don't change. You have a fixed rate mortgage anyway. So if you're paying $1,000 a month, probably $750 of that is going to be your interest payments over going forward. And then you're paying $250 down in principal pay down. Now, let's fast forward halfway through the loan. That'll probably be more balanced, 500 going to interest, 500 going to principal pay down. And then towards the last 7 or 8 years is going to be the inverse. Probably 100, 200 bucks are going to be going to paying interest. They've already made all the money off of you. And the last $800 is going to go to principal pay down. So we're talking principal pay down as the third profit center. Appreciation, profit center number 1. Cash flow, profit center number 2. Principal pay down, profit center number 3. Now, just like appreciation is the property value going up in equity, your equity is what you own of the house minus all the debts or your mortgage. Principal pay down is the way of like earning equity backwards because you're slowly paying down your principal balance, which gives you some equity. So in that example where $250 out of a $1,000 payment is going to paying down your principal, you're basically making $250 a month in equity. So when a tenant is paying your mortgage payment, and let's assume for whatever reason, you only rented it out for $1,000 a month and your mortgage payments is $1,000 a month, you're making zero cash flow. So you just said, I don't care about profit center number 2, which was cash flow. You're still making money on this property. You feel like you're losing money, right? Because you're not seeing the cash flow, but that tenant's still paying $250 a month down on your principal balance. So you don't see it in your pocket. You can't take that equity and go buy a steak dinner with it right away. But when you go to sell your property or you do a cash out refi on that property down the line, you do something along that, then you have access to that equity and then that money is yours. So just know you're making money with that principal pay down, and which is great. Great way to make some money. Now, a lot of real estate investors get in this mindset and they say, hey, I'm smart. I found a property that cash flows $250 a month. And I am going to take that $250. I don't need it in my life. And I'm going to make a $250 extra mortgage payment on my mortgage property, on my mortgage loan. And I tell them that, no, that would be one of the dumbest things you could possibly do. And this is where Dave Ramsey would tell me that I'm wrong. And this is where I tell Dave Ramsey that he's wrong. Okay. And also your parents, your rich uncle, your or aunt, your trusted friend who made some money in stocks, whatever. The people who think they understand real estate but don't is what I'm getting at. And they love to give real estate advice. They love you, right? They want your best interest. It makes sense to them that if you have an extra $250, whether it's in your paycheck, whether it's in your cash flow, you throw that at your mortgage payment. And I'm here to say, all that's bogus, okay? This is the House of AC way, and you're listening to the House of AC, and you're going to get richer because of it if you follow this advice. Let me give you this example. Okay. You right now you find a dollar coin, a Sacagawea coin in the parking lot. You happen to just be walking in the parking lot. You found a Sacagawea coin on the floor. All right, or it could be a dollar bill, but I like the visual of a Sacagawea coin. Maybe it's Susie B. Anthony coin. It doesn't matter. You find a dollar on the street. Okay, so your well-meaning friends would say, "Congratulations, you have a windfall. Why don't you pay that dollar that you didn't have otherwise to your mortgage payment? Now you've reduced your principal balance by $1, and instead of it being paid off in 30 years, it's going to be paid off in 29 years and 11 months. You do this enough time, your loan is now going to be 8 years and then 25 years, and you're just slowly making extra mortgage payments to your mortgage. And all of a sudden, this 30-year mortgage has been reduced down to 20 years or 15 years. Congratulations. That's basically the advice that they're giving you. Now, let's go back to that parking lot. Alternatively, maybe what non-financial people would do would say, hey, I found $1. This is exciting. I didn't have $1. Let me go into this dollar store that's selling candy, and let me buy a piece of candy for $1, a Snickers bar, right? So I found $1. I spent $1 on a Snickers bar. And I would say, congratulations. That was the wisest move that you could make with your money. And this is where you're like, okay, you're losing me, Alan. You're crazy. I know paying off debt's more important than buying Snickers bar. Okay, well, let's fast forward. Let's get in our time machine, okay? Let's get in the House of AC time machine and fast forward 20 years from now, okay? Honestly, we only need to fast forward about 6 months from now. But for the sake of the argument, 6 months from now, guess what? You probably already seeing this. The dollar store is now a $1.25 store. This has been the headlines for the last 2 weeks. In 6 months from now, you go into any dollar store, any Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, 99 cents or less store, nothing is $1 anymore. It's at least $1.25. Most likely it's $1.50. 15 years from now, everything's going to be the $3 store, right? That's due to inflation, right? Cost of all goods and services go up. This is not 100% based on the economy. If you're selling an ice cream cone, there might be a drought, and a drought means sugarcane goes up. So sugarcane goes up, price of ice cream goes up. Living wages, you need to pay the farmers, the milkmaids to milk the cows to make your ice cream. They need a living wage now because their rent went up, or their Dollar Tree where they get all their groceries has gone up. They need to be paid more. Okay, we're going to pay our employees more, which you should. Well, guess what? That company needs to stay in business, so they're going to raise the price of their ice cream. Okay, so what am I getting at? Well, when you get out of this time machine, whether it's 6 months in the future, 15 years in the future, you walk out, you find the same Sacagawea coin in the same parking lot. And you say, well, Alan told me to go buy Snickers bars, right? And so you go into the dollar store and everything's $3. And you're like, this is worthless. I found basically 33 cents on the ground. Everything's tripled in price. Or if it's 6 months later, it's $1.50 now, and you can't even buy any candy. So your dollar's wasted. But guess what? In the future, you could still buy $1 off your debt. So your purchasing power in the future of that $1 you found on the ground buys you 33 cents of candy, but it still values you one entire dollar off your fixed debt in the future. So why would you not want to pay off your debt with cheaper money when it's worth less? Your money is always going to be worth the most now. Go buy your goods with it and lock in as much long-term debt as you possibly can over the next 30 years. This is why real estate debt is one of the best inflation hedges. Same with cryptocurrency. We're going to lock in this fixed debt. And I know my dollar is going to get worse and worse. Imagine in the Zimbabwe, they had $1 billion bill because the inflation was just rapid, out of control, right? It used to be a $10 bill would buy you some milk and a hamburger, milkshake and a hamburger. And imagine you had a mortgage in Zimbabwe, and all of a sudden that mortgage, you had a $200,000 mortgage, and all of a sudden a $1 billion bill buys you a milkshake and a sandwich. Well, you can also go pay off your entire mortgage debt with that same money as well. So that's why you want to have as much long-term debt as possible, and don't pay down extra on your mortgage payment. All those well-meaning people in your life, they don't know what the hell they're doing. You can still love them, and you can still say you don't know what the hell you're doing. And you can also say, hey, you should join me in watching the House of AC and get educated, because this guy knows what he's talking about. So there's a good example there. So that is basically a long-winded say, principal pay down, let your tenants pay it down. You don't pay anything extra on a principal pay down. Don't ever do that. It doesn't make any sense. Don't join the bi-weekly mortgage loan programs that you'll get in the mail that says you can pay off your loan faster. You don't want to do that. You don't ever want to do that. Pay it with your cheap dollar bills in the future. It'll just feel like that debt gets cheaper and cheaper over time, even if you don't get, just based on inflation. Okay. So roll with it that way. All right. That brings us to the fourth profit center. The fourth profit center, all right, so is tax breaks. And I know you probably hate tax breaks. And this is the most boring part of real estate to me. I'm a creative guy. I don't like tax breaks, right? Or I don't like doing taxes. But it's important to understand. So let me tell you right now, the four profit centers and long-term buy and hold rentals are appreciation, cash flow, principal paydown, and tax breaks. I'm going to dig into the tax breaks, and this is really, really important for you to understand. And I know you guys are probably, there's people who get bored by this just like I do, but just stay with me, man. We got about 10, 15, 20 minutes here. I will dig deep. And we got a question here. Let me read it. DN Superfly from Facebook, the House of AC Facebook group page, says, wouldn't you be increasing your rent close to inflation and have more money in hand over time? Ideally, you'd invest it to make more money instead of paying a principal of a rental and have the money invested available to repair or maintain the property and as a hedge to tenants leaving. DN Superfly, yes, you're way ahead of me. Yes, you are 100% correct. I often say this to people, new investors. You will keep your tenants in your place if you raise their rent every year. And why is that? Think of it this way. Hey, I'm a cool landlord. I'm not going to raise your rent for 4 years. And then you have a conversation with them and you say, hey, I can't be a cool landlord anymore because I'm losing money. Property taxes have gone up. Expenses have gone up. My water bill has gone up, whatever it may be. So now I got to raise your rent $500. And that tenant's going to say, you're not a cool landlord. You're trying to rip me off. You're just getting greedy. You're just terrible like the rest of them. And then they destroy your home and they move out and give you double birds on the way out the door. And their dog left you a nice stinky steamer in the living room for you. Okay. So that's what being a cool landlord gives you. Alternatively, if you say, hey, put it in the lease every year, I'm going to raise your rent $50 a month. This is just because my expenses typically go up 25, 50 months, $50 a month. Then they're eased into it. They have a year to process that the rent's going to go up $50 or whatever you want to put in there. And then the next year they're going to do the same. And then the next year is going to be the same. And they can take that. It's like a boiling a frog, right? They're not going to freak out. And they're just going to say, wow, $50 a month, that's $600 a year. It's going to cost me $600 to buy a moving truck to go move. I'm going to have to lose $200 at work because I got to take 2 days off to go look at properties. I've got to go through the stress and I got to buy new furniture. That's another $500. The mental math is going to be like, wow, it's going to be cheaper for me to stay. I get it. I understand every other landlord has always raised the rent incrementally on me. And I still thought that landlord was cool. And guess what? That tenant stays forever because you've just eased into it. You're protected as you go by. There's no explosive, giant raise where you get accused for being greedy out of the blue, even though you were cool for the last 5 years. So to read back DN Superfly's comment on my Facebook group page right now in real time as I'm streaming, wouldn't you be increasing your rent close to inflation and have more money in hand over time? Yes. So we're increasing rent. It's not just inflation, but yeah, it could be just to cover inflation. But you don't take that money and play it down on your principal balance, which is what I was saying. Ideally, you invest it to make more money instead of paying a principal of a rental. Great. So you take that money, you can improve your property with it. That would take us to profit center number 1, which is appreciation. Yeah, if you raise that rent and put it back in the house, then you could do it into appreciation. And obviously, if you improve, let me show the screen here. This is a great example. If you take that extra cash flow, put it into appreciation, it increases the property. And guess what? If you improve the property, you can charge more rent, so you get more cash flow. And if you get more cash flow, you're still going to maintain your principal pay down. And then we're going to get into the tax breaks. So you are on the right track, DN Superfly. 100%. Yes, you're thinking like I think. Just don't throw it at your mortgage payment. Okay, so we're getting to the boring part, right? And of which is the tax breaks for me. And sorry, I'll stop saying that because I know there's some accountants listening. There's some number, fastidious people, the detail people who love this. And I don't mean to pee on your parade. I'm gonna tell you, tax breaks are amazing. Let's walk through the tax breaks. Okay, I did make a spreadsheet for this. And here is how this works. Let's assume you buy a property for $200,000. Okay, so I'm showing this on YouTube right now. Later, if you're listening in at the House of AC podcast, this is on YouTube if you want to see the spreadsheet, but I want to explain it to you. Not a ton of mental gymnastics needed to follow along. Purchase price, $200,000. Very achievable. Let's assume you put 25% down. You don't need to put down this. Same reason for the inflation reason. I always want to put as little money as possible down. So easily you can find 20% down loans, which would only be, much cheaper here. Or, depending on the situation, if by a multifamily, you live in one of the units, you can put down as little as 3.5% down. But let's assume this guy is someone who just wants to spend $50,000, and that's 25%. That leaves us a loan balance of $150,000. So if someone wants to invest in real estate, they've got $50,000, they buy a house for $200,000, it gives them a loan balance of $150,000. That would probably break down, and with current interest rates, 30-year fixed mortgage, $805 monthly mortgage payment. A rough back of the envelope number is 30% of your rental income will just be expenses, the vacancies, the repairs, things like that. So if that's the case, and we did the math that this one, $200,000 properties, this part of town rents for $1,850 a month. Achievable. These are achievable numbers. They may not be achievable on your neighborhood, but we're buying properties that are out there. This is very achievable. You can do long distance real estate investing. Yesterday's episode with Eric Hughes of Rental Income Advisors, we explained this for an hour. Go watch that if you don't understand. But yes, very achievable to buy a $200,000 property that gets $1,850 in rent. This is close to the 1% rule. It's not the 1% rule. The 1% rule says if the rental income would be $2,000, which is 1% of the purchase price, you're almost basically guaranteed to make money. And that's harder to find. This is just shy of that, but we're going to show you it does make money. So 30% of that is roughly $517 in this example. That's just going to vacancies and repairs and budgets and things like that. So we're making 70% of that total rent amount, which is $1,322. This is an investment, a very achievable investment, and I can help you find these all day. Okay, if that's the situation, if you find a place that after all your expenses and your mortgage payment and all that, your annual net operating income, your cash flow is going to be $6,336. So way to calculate that, multiply all the numbers I just said by 12. Your annual rent is going to be $22,200. Your annual mortgage payment, $9,660. Your annual expenses, $6,204. Your net operating income, this does not include mortgage payment. So your net operating income is just your annual rent, your income, minus your annual expenses. That gives you $15,996. You add in that $9,666 of 12 mortgage payments, your cash flow is $6,336. Now, you've just spent $50,000 and you're making a cash flow $6,336. Let's assume that you're in the 30% tax bracket. You're buying some real estate. You're probably doing pretty good. You're probably in the higher tax brackets. Eventually, you'll get there with real estate. Or let's assume instead of making $6,336 in real estate investment, you got a $6,336 bonus at work, or you worked overtime to earn an extra $6,336 at work. Well, you're going to have to pay 30% in taxes for that, which is, going to eat away at this business, right? Your net operating income afterwards. If you take that away, you're getting a cash on cash return of 3.1%. So you're going to pay taxes of $4,799. And I misphrased that a little bit. You're going to be taxed 30% on your net operating income. So instead of the example of making an extra $6,000 at work, let's say you got a bonus of $15,996 at work. You're going to pay 30% of that in taxes, which is about $4,800. You're also going to pay about 7% of that in FICA taxes. That goes to Social Security, Medicare. This is the United States. Just things that just taken out of your paycheck when you get it, right? So in this example, without any preferential tax breaks, which is profit center number 4, you're only getting 3% return on your money. Now, let's talk about the tax breaks and let's see how that changes things by being a real estate investor. Okay. First, when you're investing in real estate, you're buying a small business. And the way that taxes are calculated in buying a small business, they add up all of your expenses and take it away from your income. Whatever's left over is what you're taxed. Now, a big expense is buying a house with a mortgage, right? That mortgage payment is probably going to be your biggest payment. Painful payment in many cases. That's why people want to pay it off. But don't pay it off also for this reason, because you get tax breaks the bigger your mortgage is. Okay. So mortgage interest, what the IRS says is you look at your mortgage payment and amortization calendar, which we walked through when we went through the principal paydown. They'll say, we will not give you a tax break on the principal paydown portion because that's just you paying yourself down. But a business expense is the interest that you're paying on a mortgage. So all that interest, that's 75% at the beginning of a loan where the bank's trying to make their most money, that is a business expense. That interest payment portion of your mortgage payment is an interest expense. So you get to take that out of your income. So you add up all your income for the small business that you bought, which is could be a quad house, could be a single family house, it doesn't matter. And they're going to say a business expense is your mortgage interest. So if that's the case, in this example that I've been walking you through, they're going to give you $7,245 extra expenses to calculate. So you take your income, we're going to take out $7,245 because that's a business expense, the interest payments on that loan. And again, the tenant is paying for this business expense and then their rental income, right? So that's a huge tax break, right? And as a real estate investor, you don't have to pay FICA taxes. You don't have to do anything like that. So get a big, juicy mortgage and never pay it off because it comes back in spades. 1, the Sacagawea example, and 2, the mortgage interest deduction. All right, all the interest payments on that mortgage is wiped out. It's an expense off your income. So you get a little, it's going to make you look like a terrible real estate investor now be on your taxes because now you have all this extra expenses you weren't accounting for. And then it's, your income's a little bit lower and you're going to be taxed on your net income, right? So if we can make that net income feel a little bit lower, you don't have to pay as much taxes. That's just one of the tax breaks. Okay. The second one is building depreciation. The IRS says this about your property. Let's say you buy a property that's $200,000. IRS, they have something in residential real estate that says, I know you bought an asset I know you bought a business that has, walls, a roof, and lumber involved, electricity. An average lifespan of a house is 27 and a half years. I don't know how they came up with that, but this is what they're going to give you. So they're going to say, hey, we think this entire building needs to be replaced in 27 and a half years. So you take what you purchased it for, and you determine this purchase price of $200,000. How much of it is the land at the bottom, and how much is it the goods and materials that make up the house? You can work this however way you want. 80-20 is sort of a good rule of thumb. That's what I use. Let's just assume if the house burns to the ground, I can sell it for 20% of what I purchased for because the land has value, right? And then there's value in the house on top of that land. And the IRS says, IRS says the land is worth, is going to deteriorate for 27 and a half years. So what they do is saying, well, if that's the case, the 80-20 split, 80% of this $200,000 house that you purchased is $160,000. Okay? $160,000 is the building, $40,000 is the land underneath it. And we will let you deduct 27.5 years of this, as a straight line going down. So $160,000 divided by 27.5 years is $5,818. And they're basically saying, hey, I know you have business expenses that you're not accounting for, but just take $5,818 a year and just wipe that away from your income. So if you're making cash flow of $6,336, and the IRS is saying it's depreciation $5,818, well, then that's just showing income of $500 a month, right? And so this you can almost get in a situation where you're not even paying taxes, and you can do this by getting a bigger loan, in 5 years. If you get that appreciation, do a cash out refi, get a bigger loan. And then that IRS, that 27.5 starts all over again. But if you pay off your building, you lose the mortgage interest deduction. So you never want to pay off your building. And that IRS will sort of reset that clock for 27 and a half years as you refinance. I believe that's the case. I want to double check that. But I definitely know if you at least sell your property after 27 and a half years, now that I'm saying it out loud, sell that property 27 and a half years and go buy another property, which is a 1031 exchange, where you don't pay any capital gains tax on selling the property, and you get to go buy another property that's bigger and better. That's also a third tax loop here that is not spelled out on the spreadsheet, but a 1031 is another way. So there's just tax break after tax break after tax break that gives real estate investors all sorts of extra money in their pocket. And if you compare this example without the tax breaks and with the tax breaks, you're basically paying half the taxes. So before, we were paying 30% tax bracket with the exact same numbers, $4,799. Now with all the tax breaks, you're only paying 2,933% or $33, which is 40% of 4,799. Your cash on cash return, which is how much money you put in the deal and how much money is coming back to you. Without these tax breaks, on this scenario, you're making 3.1% cash on cash return. With these tax breaks, without doing anything special, it's built into the IRS code, you're making 6.8% return, cash on cash return. So you've increased your return by more than double, from 3.1% up to 6.8%, because you get tax breaks. So why do these exist, right? Why are these out here? America wants you to invest in real estate. They want you to provide a good, right? Because otherwise, they have to provide the good. And they do. This is public housing. And, people refer to it as the projects. This is government housing. The government doesn't want to be a landlord. And they're basically saying, I know we're not good at it. Look at, we build these communities. They have a high in crime. They're in, the schools are in poor schools. We're not good landlords. So we want to incentivize other Americans to be good landlords. And here's a bunch of tax breaks I'm going to sprinkle here and here and here and here so that you can go do this job that is needed in America. Now, as a tenant who has options, just like everything, you can either use a private good or a public good. I can go use the internet at the library. That's a public good. Or I can pay to have it at my house through a private company. I can rent my house from a public area, government housing, or I can go to a private situation and rent from a private landlord, which is us doing this, not the government, right? And it's probably going to be a little bit more expensive. Just like it's more expensive to pay for my internet from a cable company. I can use public water and it's free. Or I can pay a private company to make it and bottle it from a glacier, and I pay extra for that. None of these are necessarily better than the other, but I'm paying extra for something that I want through a private business. And the government wants to incentivize real estate investors for that. So that is the tax break. Some of the tax breaks. I've only talked about the mortgage interest. I've only talked about the building depreciation. And I've only talked about 1031. But there's more and more out there. And I am not an accountant. I am not a CPA, but you should hire one. I gladly pay my CPA to handle all this for me, because guess what? My CPA's expense is a business expense, and I can make that tax deductible as well. So those are things that you need to learn out there to save on money. And if you're just tuning in, thank you. For-profit centers, appreciation, cash flow, principal pay down, and tax breaks. This is for long-term buy and hold rentals, the get rich slow way of being a millionaire. You just buy a property as often as you can. Minimum, you can buy a property in the next 90 days. Spend the next 30 days getting pre-qualified, getting your finance all straightened out at jasmineteam.com. Part 2, the next 30 days, you're looking at homes. And the last 30 days, you're offering and you're putting in offers, and you're going to be a landlord in 90 days. It only takes 90 days. And then you rinse and repeat. And you're going to get those imaginary lottery tickets in Profit Center 1 of the appreciation. You're going to trickle in the little money, the little $100 here, the $50 here in your cash flow, which is Profit Center number 2. And you're going to get the principal pay down. Let the tenants pay off that debt. Let the tenants pay off your interest payment. Let the tenants pay off your principal balance of the money borrowed to purchase this. That's the rental income covers all that for you, right? And you're not going to make extra payments on your payments, because I explained it's best not to do that. Reinvest that money in your home, or reinvest that money into buying a second or a third or a fourth property. And then Profit Center number 4 is saying, hey, hold the property 27 and a half years. You're going to get a tax break. After that, sell the property and go buy a new one. And we're not going to make you pay taxes on that. That's a 1031 exchange. All these things, basically, you can sometimes, in the right situations, not pay any taxes on your rental income. And if you are paying taxes on your rental income, you know it's kicking off so much money if you're actually paying taxes on your property, because that means you're making a lot of cash flow, you're getting a lot of principal pay down, and you're getting all the tax breaks, and you're still paying taxes. You got a winner. So what my accountant always tells me, if I'm paying taxes, it's a good thing. I've had a good year, right? And my accountant, like every good accountant, makes me look like a bad real estate investor. Let's add all these expenses in. He's got a big mortgage. Let's write off those interest payments, things like that. So and all those repairs that appreciate the property value, those are also tax deductible. Those are expenses. I'm adding value. The fixing a refrigerator here or not, that's not. Those are expenses. But there's something called the basis, which is basically when you go to sell your property, it's what did you buy it for? What money did you put into it to increase the value of it? And then what did you sell it for? And then that delta is what you pay taxes on. So if you are putting money into investing in your property, it's going to save you on taxes as well. It'll increase your basis. All right. That is it. That's my show. I didn't think I'd even have an hour's worth of topics of this. I thought I could cover this in 40 minutes. I got really excited. That's my passion. Thank you for tuning into the House of AC. Join the House of AC Discord. You're going to talk to other real estate agents. Go to the Linktree/the House of AC. Get a mortgage from jasmineteam.com and support me. This all I want is your likes and your views and your eyeballs. Tell people to tune in. This is all highlighted in the book House Fire as well. And thank you for the comment. Thanks, Alan. D and Superfly. No problem. This is fun for me. I enjoy it. It doesn't feel like work. I want you to be successful. I want you to be a real estate agent that can leave the day job and live off rental income like I have. But I've got so much more to teach you. So keep tuning in. I live stream every day, Monday to Friday.